when no one asks you any questions, you start to question yourself, like, well, who am I? Like, what am I, how am I important? Do I matter? Maybe you don't need to rip off the Band-Aid, but maybe, for me, this was a 2 or 3 years of slowly walking out, slowly delegating out. One thing for me that I think I needed is I needed rest. Hurry is violence on the soul. We're so fast paced and we are hurrying all the time. We never take time to rest, to be still. If you're willing to just sit back, give yourself a certain amount of months, could even be a year of just rest time, just to spend some time reflecting. I needed that in my life.
So as you said, to really grow, and I don't mean grow in materialism, I don't mean to grow necessarily financially, although it often happens this way, but you have to let go. You have to let go what you've known, what has gotten you to wherever you are today, is however you want to define that. Successful, still trying to figure something else out. I've got areas of my life that somehow deep inside they're not fulfilled. I mean, everybody has those. And yet to grow, you've got to be able to let go of something. And you said it very well. That's a scary place to be. It's like, you got a bungee cord tied to you. That's how I look at it. And you're standing, over a cliff, and the bungee cord, it's supposed to pull you off the ground right before you hit, right? So go ahead and jump it. I don't know. And I think that scary part is, Brett, is that our identity is built so much on what we do in life, and the monikers of success that we are able to show, however you do that, whether it's a degree after your name, or you live in a certain neighborhood, or whatever it is, that's our identity. And to be willing to strip that off, as you said, and move to the owner's box where you're no longer the face of what you did, where you don't walk around the town, or whoever the people you're around, it's going to be different. So I want to know from you, as you looked over that cliff, and we're ready to go to that owner's box and really let go of most everything that was your identity, did you already have in place a solid idea, a solid framework of what this next would be for you? Or were you just kind of going out there with faith that it was just going to open up? I want to know. I say that's why I got you on this podcast, because I didn't get to ask you. I want to know.
Oh man. Honestly, I really did not. I didn't have it clear. I didn't have a clear vision, a clear blueprint of, hey, this is my next thing, my next step. I had ideas that what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. Honestly, I mean, my identity was wrapped up into this thing severely. And even though at that time, I would have said, no, it's not. My identity's in Christ, or I'm a husband, I'm a father. But when you step out and you stop being the man and you stop being the face, and people stop coming to you and people don't ask you anymore. I mean, as entrepreneurs and business leaders, we complain all the time about our door opening up and people constantly asking us questions. Well, when no one asks you any questions, you start to question yourself, like, well, who am I? Like, how am I important? Do I matter? So I spent about 100 days, I'd say 90 to 100 days of kind of just wandering and mentoring, or not mentoring, but getting mentors in my life, of just really going through this transition, this, this process. And it took a while, but so I didn't have this blueprint. I didn't have this big next thing. I knew I wanted to do something. Not saying that real estate isn't significant, because it is. I mean, I impact people's lives with real estate. I impact my team. Definitely not saying that at all. But I wanted to do more of these things that I was passionate about, that I love. Some of these missions things, some of these, ministry, deeper sorts of things, like mastermind sorts of things. So I knew I wanted that. I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew I'm more of a people person. And our business is, every business is people, but in the wholesaling and all that, a lot of transactions. And I wanted to maybe sit down with you, David, and be like, maybe I can pour into you, like, because I know exactly where you are. And I knew that was going to be a part of my life. And I'm doing some of that now, just kind of taking other entrepreneurs that are stuck, right? They're kind of in the trenches. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They're where I was at. And I love to just, tweak and say, well, have you thought about this? So that's in the works for me. Again, I don't have it clear, but I know it's going to be purposeful, missionful, impactful, and people oriented, and faith. I know it's going to be a lot of that, but I don't have it totally clear yet.
I think that the ability for one to take the steps on faith to allow yourself to grow yourself, to have the impact, to find the deeper relationships, to be of greater service, that you have to create a vacuum. You have to actually step out and create that vacuum. Reason I ask you that question, because that's exactly how I was, and for a similar reason that you had. Well, the decision you made to move to be closer to your daughter. I mean, a lot of people would have had trouble with that. I mean, I would potentially have trouble with that too, because you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be financially responsible, for my family, and my daughter's included in that. So, but I also want to be a dad. And so now we have this big conflict, right? And that, I think that hurts a lot of us as entrepreneurs. We're trying to figure this out, this conflict. How do we figure this out? And you made a decision, because I think you future paced yourself wisely. You said, I didn't want to live life with regrets. I think a lot of people just plow through life and not even thinking that. And then at the end of life, if they have that opportunity to reflect back, it wasn't how many more deals you did in a particular year. It wasn't how much more money. It wasn't how many revenue streams. It was the time, the relationships, the people is what I think where regrets come from. And you decided, you made that decision. I don't want those regrets. I'll figure this out. Well, I had to do the same thing. I let go of my dental practice over 15, 16, 17 years ago, when I was like you in real estate. I was doing quite well and providing for my family, but my daughter's health situation, which was very tenuous, could have been so tenuous that it could have been snuffed out, and I would have had regrets. Now, fortunately, that didn't happen, but it forced me to do the same thing you did, to really dig down deep and go, what's the most important thing? And like you, I had, a decent amount of real estate, decent, not magnanimous, decent, that gave me enough runway to say, you know what, I'm going to make this move because I care about my daughter. Now, back to the point I was going to make with you is I didn't know exactly what next was going to be. I wasn't really worried about it, because I had, my focus was on my daughter and just escaping from what I call the ball and chain of being, spinning all the plates in the business. And I realized, looking back now, that vacuum of time, that void of time, all of a sudden that was there in front of me, I wasn't really afraid of it, because I had a reason why to do it. Like you, I wasn't afraid. I think a lot of people are afraid. I think a lot of people, even if they think they have the financial wherewithal to do it, they're afraid for the reasons you just expressed. Who am I now? I have no identity. And I think if you have faith and you open that void and you create that space, because you can and you should, that's how you get to grow. If you don't do it, then you probably never will. And then you'll look back on life and go. So I just want to hit that home, because I know I've got a lot of listeners. A lot of them, they're all entrepreneurial. A lot of them are doctors and dentists who are working really hard, just like we both have, and people we know. And yet inside they're thinking, when can I pull the trigger to do these things that I've been talking about, spending more time with my family, or my kids are growing up right in front of me, right? I got 18 summers and they're gone. And my advice, and I want to let you weigh in, my advice would be to get real about what you really value. And I'm not saying that you can be financially irresponsible. No, we're not talking about that at all. No, but we believe a lot of what society in our industry tells us. Well, you should do this. You need to do this. If you're not doing this kind of dollar volume or number of houses, there's something wrong with you. And I think we've got to be able to dispel that. But give me your take.
No, that's really, really great. Number one, I don't want anyone to be financially irresponsible. So like David said, I mean, I had some of my notes, I had a rental portfolio, and I still own the business. It's not like I said, we had the best year. I made more money last year than I have made ever in the real estate business. So I still own the business. So I put a lot of thought. I talked to a lot of mentors. This wasn't like, oh, Brett rips off this Band-Aid and I'm gone. It's like, this is a 2 or 3 or 4 month process of conversations of how do I do this? I mean, all these thoughts came through my mind. Could I sell the business? Could I still own the business, but give up a piece of it? Or could I give some nice bonus packages on this leadership team that's going to drive this thing home? And that's obviously what happened. So it took some strategizing. So I wouldn't recommend just kind of walking away. And I had a lot of passive income streams as well. So I had a nice cushion. One of the things for me is maybe you don't need to rip off the Band-Aid, but maybe, for me, this was 2 or 3 years of slowly walking out, slowly delegating out. Like, I don't like doing this anymore. I don't need to do that. I'm going to delegate that. And then I slowly just delegated everything. Well, that was a lot of, months and years and process in that. One thing for me that I think I needed is I needed rest. And I heard this the other day that I think it said, hurry is violence on the soul. And when you think about that, is like, we're so fast paced and we are hurrying all the time. We never take time to rest, to be still. And I believe to listen from God, to listen to our inner thoughts, we need to be still. And I needed that in my life. I hadn't had that. And I don't remember what that was even like, right? Is just to have this, just to breathe, to be still. What am I going to do? Just to have that time, it was just really, really important to me. So maybe someone can relate to that. Just like, maybe you just need a little rest. And that's what I needed for sure.
So true to form. And yet so contrary again to what we were told. You got to be busy, you got to be productive, you got to be making things happen. And yeah, if that's all you do, you will burn out. You will burn out in life and whatever you thought you were meant to do. I want to peel back to mentors, because you've mentioned that a couple of times, and I'm a huge fan. And you mentioned, conversations with mentors as you were working this out. What I have found is, choosing the right mentors. I want to talk to you about that a little bit, but having the opportunity to articulate our thoughts, our dreams, our visions, the things that we think are challenges or barriers, limiting beliefs. We all have them, right? And articulate with somebody that has the role of I'm going to call it in air quotes, the right mentor, gives a lot of clarity, because clarity is usually what we're missing in life. We can't see the forest for the trees. We are so much in the thick of the doing of the things that we've learned how to do that we cannot pull ourselves to that 1,000-foot elevation. Somebody else can help us do that. They can, like putting a mirror up in front of us and saying, yeah, this is really who you are. And it's like, I never saw it that way. Tell me how you have chosen mentors, because I think a lot of people hear the word mentor and they go, but who's that? Where do I find a mentor? What was your process?
Yeah. Probably mostly referrals is I ask around. I ask some of our own network. I ask you, I ask some other people from Collective Genius is, hey, do you guys know of anybody? And there's different mentors for different seasons of life too. So, we have business coaches, we have business consultants, coaches that mentor for the business. We talk about processes, strategies, how to scale the business. I've had scaling up coaches. I've had EOS coaches. We still have those. I didn't need that during this time. Yeah. I needed more of a transitional type of coach. So honestly, my mentor was a transition coach at this time, and he transitioned people like this that had been working for a long time. He actually transitioned pastors a lot. So let's take a pastor that was a pastor for 20 years, then they step out into something else. So he was used to people, men in their 40s, 50s, or 60s transitioning into something else. And he really helped me with that. So I was telling him how I felt. And I was like, I was like, I'm really, really stressed out. I don't know what it even feels like to be normal sometimes. I'm always rushed. My mind never stops at all. It's always spinning, even when I'm putting my kids to bed. I'm pretty burned out, and I've lost some of the passion for the business. And these are some of the thoughts I'm telling him. And he just looks at me and he said, "You're done." I was like, okay. Anyways, but that was his first comment. And then but it wasn't just there. We just kind of walked through that. over the several months of, again, figuring out my identity, right? Digging into that, like, okay, if I'm not this real estate CEO, we got to dig down and figure out who I am. So we came up with this identity statement, right? That I can cling to no matter what, right? If I'm not anything and I'm just me. So that was like one process that really I hang on to. So that's been one mentor. And so I think that referrals, networks, mastermind groups, some I've paid, some, I've just are friends, but yeah, there's been all sorts. I hire all sorts of mentors, workout mentors, all sorts of them.
I 100% agree. Well, in this pathway to your next, the transition that you've been going through for the last number of years, and now in the owner's box, reflecting back, Brett, is there any part of this process that you could look back now and say, I could have done it better if I'd only known or done this? Is there anything? I'm just looking for advice for people who are listening today and going, that feels like me. And you've given a great pathway. You've been very authentic, as I knew you would be. But is there anything looking back that you'd say, you know what, I should have, if I would have done this, I would have been further along the road? Okay, anything like that?
I think just like any entrepreneur, right when I stepped out of the business, since I didn't know who I was ready to just jump back into a bunch of stuff. So I just say, if you're willing to just sit back, give yourself a certain amount of months, could even be a year of just rest time. And you might think that I can't ever just do that, or just to be still, or not saying stop working, but just to spend some time reflecting. There was a study done amongst 90-year-olds, and one of the things they wish they would have done was reflected more. We don't reflect a lot. And you talked about reflecting at what could I do? Look at my life 5 years from now. What would I regret? If I'm in the same spot now in 5 years, is that going to suck for me? Like, these are questions that we should start to ask ourselves. Or what's the whole meaning of all of this, right? So just letting yourself breathe and just to sit back. I wish I would have did that. So I started to jump back into stuff right away. And then God kind of hit me inside the head, and something happened with my personal family. I was like, I gotta just cancel all that and just be here. So that was that. But I would just say, allow yourself to rest in that, and just take it slow. I think we think we have to just creativity and starting something and creating your identity. And if you guys take yourself back when you first started your dental practice or whatever business, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of just let yourself be a visionary again, and some clarity, and be a kid again, right? Get that little passion going, get that flowing. Sometimes we lose that. And that's exciting, right? It's exciting to be like, oh my gosh, I feel loose. I feel good. I feel restful. I'm not stressed. I don't have anxiety in my life. I'm not depressed. And, this feels interesting. Feels good. And just let yourself be there. And that's where I'm at right now. And if I feel myself starting to go over the line of like into the anxiety zone, into the stress zone, into the too much zone, I'm like, okay, I gotta tweak something because something's a little bit off. So like, I'm just a lot more aware of myself now, and I don't want to be where I was at. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Brett, this has really been a great conversation, and thank you so much for just sharing your life's journey, the path which is far from over. You'll continue on to explore who you are with your new identity, and I know all the service that you provide, certainly to your family first, but certainly with your faith and missions, and just serving other people. It's as you said, it's a great feeling when you find out that whatever skill set you thought you had or trained or educated on, that's not the end. That is never the end game. That's a stepping stone. So use it as a stepping stone, but never be afraid to explore, reflect back, as you said, so important. Because life is as exhilarating as you allow it to be. And that's kind of.
And I just want to hit on this one last thing that I never want to come across as I'm not like crazy grateful for the real estate and the success, because the success gives us the platform. I
It
wouldn't be
does.
on the David Phelps podcast talking to dentists and business owners if it wasn't for the real estate. So I'm super thankful for that. And yeah, just want to say that too.
And you do brush and floss daily. I just want to get that
That's
out.
right.
Okay. Just checking. Otherwise I can't let you on the show. I can't put this out, but as long as I forgot to check that box at the beginning. Brett Snodgrass, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy our time together, whether it's one-on-one or just, in our mastermind group, but you're always one that brings deserved respect, not because you seek it, but because it's who you are.
Thanks, David. I really appreciate it. And you too, man. Appreciate everything you do. God bless you, brother.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.